continue to celebrate 50 years of hip-hop, and if there is a benevolent God in heaven, he'll learn how to dance. One music television producer knows a thing or two about hip-hop. Esteban A Serrano helped introduce the world to, oh, I don't know, A$AP Rocky, Kendrick Lamar, Travis Scott. You heard of these fellas? He says that knowledge helped prepare him to be a father.
Yeah, so he wrote a book about it. The concept is based on Biggie's 10 Commandments. So please welcome to the show the author of the 10 Dad Commandments and father of 3, Esteban Serrano. So good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Full title of the book, 10 Dad Commandments, Fatherhood Through the Lens of Hip-Hop.
Yes.
I love this. By the way, let me just pick up those names.
Hello.
All dropped.
Right?
Very nice.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite the roster. I'm a new dad.
Congrats.
Right,
Welcome to the club.
About to hit a year in, so I'm paying close attention to what you got to say. Why'd you write this book?
I mean, I wrote this book for people like you.
For you.
You know?
So I can get some rhythm?
So you that's not in there,
right.
You know?
That's
but,
a different
book. Yeah, but, you know, I started having kids when I was 22. I had my first son, who's now 19 years old. So, you know, along the way, I've gained a lot of information. As my younger friends were starting to have kids, they're like, I wish you had a book. I wish you had a book. And everything in my life is always viewed through the lens of hip-hop anyway. Yeah. So, fatherhood through the hip-hop lens.
I wonder, though, coming from the birthplace of hip-hop myself, the Bronx, you know, we listen, you know, I grew up with KRS-One. I grew up with all of this sort of stuff. And it never, ever occurred to me to look at these folks as anything other than performing artists. And I think as regular mortals, we forget that these people are people. What did you observe of all of these performing artists coming up, because you work at MTV, BET? What did you observe of them? Did it ever occur to you like, oh, you're a dad? Because it's also easy to fall into the cliche of, oh, you're from the hood, you're a dad when you're 16, and you don't pay child support, which is not always the case.
No, and honestly, working behind the scenes for so many years, one of my favorite things to see was my favorite artists interacting with their children. Sometimes they bring them along. You know, life as an artist on the road, you know, you don't have a lot of time to spend, so you make good use of the time. So whenever I would see, for example, in the book, there's a story about Mano, a New York rapper, who everyone knows has a very notorious presence, you know, from a past street life. One of the most amazing fathers you'll ever meet. He was walking around a music video set, introducing his son to everyone, teaching him how to shake hands and look a man in the eye. When you meet them, you know, he's talking about what color folder you should put your homework in so your teacher knows you get it. This is, you know, one of the dopest rappers from New York City, but an amazing father. And I would see Rev Run, and I would see, you know, all of these different people coaching their children through their life, but spending that time. And I knew that there needed to be a platform for it.
I mean, hip-hop is a language. There's always a story being told. There's always an emotion being conveyed within the lyrics of the hip-hop songs, right? And just like flipping through the pages here, you know, so many things that you're talking about. I got a story to tell. Gangsters make the best fathers. I mean,
there it is.
What for you, though, when you were in the kind of the world of this all, and then you became a dad, right? You were a stepfather first and then became a father. What was it about the world of hip-hop that kind of parlayed, you know, you kind of looked at it and said, okay, there's a story there, and I'm going to transition it to my life?
Yeah, I mean, you know, being a hip-hop fan, my favorite types of hip-hop was always stories. So, you know, going back to Slick Rick, you know, A Children's Tale, and going to Nas and Rewind, when he told the story backwards, and going to Biggie's, you know, I Got a Story to Tell, which was a Biggie song about him, you know, being with one of the New York Knicks' wives, you know, on the low. You know, you love those stories. You sit there and you just vicariously live through these characters. So, you know, knowing that hip-hop was a vehicle for telling stories, and especially the stories that had great lessons in them, I felt like that was the best way to present, you know, this information. We learn more from other people's stories and experiences. So my experiences all through this book, my ups, my downs, my fails, you know, my successes, so that the listener, or the reader rather, I always say listener, but the reader can, you know, receive the information and apply it. And you know, maybe it'll keep them from making some of the mistakes that I made.
So 10 Commandments, there are in fact 10 Commandments. If you had to choose the one that you feel like resonates the most with you, or that you hope resonates with other readers, which one would it be?
Protect.
That's a good one.
Okay, new daddy.
That's a good one. And that's a good one. It's in there. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
See, you're doing good.
I'm
You're
on my
doing
way.
good, new daddy.
There you go. But I love protect. I love that chapter because so often, you know, we as fathers think of protection from the standpoint of physical, making sure they're not physically in harm's way. But my favorite thing in there is teaching my sons how to protect their peace so that they're not triggered by people who don't mean them anything well, you know? And then another part of protection is also protecting their self-image and their creativity. You can't tell my sons that they're someone that they're not because they know who they are. And we've built an infrastructure in our household that champions them in their creativity and their individuality.
That's right. So what's A$AP Rocky like as a dad?
So I haven't actually gotten to witness Rocky as a father, but there is a story in the book. One of the days I brought my son to work, and I was interviewing Rocky about an album, and after the interview, Rocky met my son, and he started grilling me. Rocky's like, "Are you a good dad to him, man? You take care of him, you know, you love on him." And I'm like, "Rocky, what's up, dude? Like, why are you grilling me?" It turns out that was the day his father passed.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Rocky's dad passed that day.
Wow.
So it was more like he saw my relationship with my son, and it reminded him of his. And now he's a dad, soon to be twice over.
Soon to be twice.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Hot.
I want to make it clear, though, this is a book for all dads, not just rap dads.
Oh, no. Every dad.
Yeah. Watch The Company You Keep. I got to read this chapter. Sounds important.
That's a big one, for sure.
Right? I mean, you got to people you surround yourself with.
That's it.
Awesome
Esteban,
meeting you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Come back and
for sure.
visit, please.
Yes, we'll do.